Welcome to day 4 of 5 world-class race days at Royal Ascot. Graham Cunningham for the Whirlpool. John Blantz joins the chat. Welcome, John. We can't get rid of Maddie Plale. If you're winning at this point, it's time to press on. If you're losing, it's time to make moves. 7 world-class contests. Let's kick off with the 2-year-old fillies. Straight 1,200 metres here at Ascot for the Albany Stakes. Down the card, top of the shop, American Speed, Burning Pine for Wesley Ward. Then we have a couple of interesting Aidan O'Brien horses, Fairy Godmother and Heaven's Gate. Fairy Godmother comes with a strong reputation. Hot Darling has been winning and winning in tough fashion in France. Mountain Breeze is very well bred and has looked good at Newmarket. Further down, Simmering is coming to the boil after a really promising debut at York. And Twafigue, Archie Watson's secret weapon for Royal Ascot this year. All sorts of options here. Let's start at the top of the shop with this American filly, Wesley Ward, Burning Pine. This is intriguing, John. She went to Keeneland on her debut. It was 4.5 furlongs. Yep. She clocked about 52 seconds. This has to be a really different test, doesn't it?
It is a different test, but if you actually watch the VT of that, she was pretty well. It wasn't a complete tearaway in the race. She didn't go miles clear and then really get very tight in the closing stages. I think they can ration that speed. I'm not too sure they can ration the speed to go the 1,200 metres here, but I think she's got the ability. She ran a 90 by a speed figure, which is pretty good historically for this race. So I've got her in the numbers, but not quite to win it.
Wesley Ward, as we know, has won plenty of 2-year-old races at Royal Ascot. He has never won the Albany Stakes. I want to talk about Fairy Godmother and Heaven's Gate, 2 Aidan O'Brien fillies, both pretty impressive last time. Fairy Godmother in a group race and Heaven's Gate in a maiden race. Lots of people, including myself, will prefer the Fairy Godmother. You have a different view, Maddie.
Yeah, I think this week Aidan hasn't been sold on which of his 2-year-olds are the strongest, and I actually prefer Heaven's Gate of his 2 here. She beat a filly called January last time, really impressively at the Curragh. That filly's gone on and won since and boosted the form. She recorded a rating of Racing Post rating of 92 that day, and that's better than what Fairy Godmother achieved in the Group 3. So there's not a lot between them on the figures, and you'll get a bigger price about my selection.
Talk to me about this Godolphin filly. She called Mountain Breeze, John.
Yes, and she's 2 from 2 thus far. Both speed figures are very good. She's got a nice run style for this as well. She'll just settle off the back of the speed and hopefully have plenty in the closing stages. And she's also got quite a nice draw as well, Mountain Breeze. She's got 12, which is historically pretty good for this race as well. And I think that's probably the way to go.
Interesting to see the Sangster colours with Simmering. Big price winner in the Coventry Stakes on day 1. This filly Simmering went to York with a reputation. She didn't win, but she travelled beautifully for a long way. I have her in as a pretty strong contender. But John, if you'll wrap up your 4 numbers for race 1, the Albany Stakes, please.
Yeah, we're going to go with Mountain Breeze, the 11 on top, the 5 Fairy Godmother in for second. Obviously, as Maddie said, already a group winner, so she goes in there for second spot. The American horse in for third. I think she'll blaze away and probably get caught, so she goes in on the trifecta line. And horse number 14, we haven't mentioned, Royalty Bay, ran a very good race at Ripon on debut, and I think she can go well from a decent draw.
Yeah, we're going a bit rogue, Graham, for the first race. 6 Heaven's Gate on top, followed by 5. 17 Twafigue, who you mentioned. I think that filly's going to run a big race for Archie Watson and Holly Doyle, followed by the 11 Mountain Breeze.
A friend of mine who was whining and dining with the lads, the Coolmore team yesterday, said they are mad keen on Fairy Godmother for this race. She's on top for me, number 5. 17 Twafigue was really impressive first time at Doncaster. She'll run well at a big price. Likewise, number 15 Simmering and number 11 Mountain Breeze for 4th. Albany Stakes, race 1, day 4. It's time to go Group 1 racing on day 4 at Royal Ascot. 3-year-olds, Commonwealth Cup, straight 1,200 metres. Lost a couple of stars here. Non-runners Van Dijk, Bucanero Fuerte, but we still have some very good horses on deck, headed by Elite Status. He's been hit and miss, but he was dynamite at Newbury last time. Evade has come from France with a fiery temperament and some pretty smart form. Innis Sherin ran very well in the 2,000 guineas. Back at sprinting at Haydock, he was dominant. Lake Forest won the Gimcrack Stakes at York last year. Have a look at number 5, Jasor. Course and distance form reads very impressively. We'll see him in a moment. Further down the card, 13 Starlust was behind Jasor at Ascot, but he went to York and he beat up on some pretty good older handicappers. So I think we should start with Jasor. I think this is a key horse here. 1 or 2 of these have slightly hit and miss profiles, John. Jasor bombed out twice last year when he was too fiery, too headstrong, but he got it all together here at Ascot, and the turn of foot to come from last to first Tell me about this horse.
Yeah, similar profile to Elite Status, who we'll talk about as well. Really good start to the 2-year-old campaign, tailed off a little bit, and then ran in this trial race back in early May. Was quite a long way behind in a race where they didn't really go particularly hard, accelerated past them all. 1 or 2 good form lines in there as well, a day in Devon. So Jasso, not quite for me, but goes in the numbers.
Jasso is a key horse. I know you like him, but there's another horse from that Ascot race, Starlust, who has gone on and bolted up at York, and he was in good form last autumn when he ran really well in the Breeders' Cup. Can you tell me what you like about this horse? He has blinkers on for the first time, I believe.
Yeah, he's straightforward, he's uncomplicated, and he tends to bring his best to the table no matter what the conditions are. Starlust, he does make my Quinella, but I do think Jasso should just have too much class for them here. I've spoken to Clive Cox about this horse the whole way throughout his career. He's always thought a great amount of him. So good in that July Stakes as a juvenile, went missing afterwards, but they've got him right now. I don't think it's an issue that he missed the Sandy Lane Stakes last time because that took place on slightly softer ground. I like the angle that he's fresh, and I think this could be one of my favourite horses of the week. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jasso. Clive Cox, of course, won the race with a horse in these colours before in Golden Horde.
This Elite Status has a similar profile to Jasso in a way, in that he bombed out inexplicably twice as a juvenile, well fancied, but he came back at Newbury looking $1 million and running accordingly, John.
Yeah, he was so good. He broke the track record. It was lowered again later on by the 6 furlong handicappers, but it was still an incredible effort on the speed throughout. Some really good form horses in behind. There's a slight chance that he might bounce off that, I suppose, because it was such a big effort. But if he can reproduce that here, he's got a massive chance.
Inisherin, 2 questions, Matty Playle. 1, how good is he after Haydock? And 2, would you be slightly concerned that he's drawn 1?
The draw, possibly. How good is he after Haydock? The answer to that question, none of us really know. Of course, he brings classic form to the table that was boosted in the form of Rosallion in the St James's Palace. So that's certainly looking strong form now. The drop back to 6 furlongs clearly hasn't done him any harm. He's a very talented horse. It's just a case of how he's going to match up.
I think we've mentioned the winner here, but are there any others we should mention, John, for the Quinella?
Well, there are 1 or 2, actually. I mean, obviously, I've got Elite Status on top because I was really taken with that Newbury run. I'm going to go with Malk, who actually beats Elite Status, where he finished 2nd, and Elite Status was 3rd in the Norfolk Stakes last year, and actually stayed on pretty well in the Carnarvon. And I think the trip here will suit Malk at a big price. Horse number 9 in for 2nd. 7 in for 3rd, Lake Forest, won the Gimcrack last year. Hasn't been seen yet, but he's well drawn, and the pace setup will really suit him. And I got the 5 Jasso in there for 4th, so 1, 9, 7 and 4 for me.
My selections, it will be no one's surprise that I'm putting 5 Jasso on top, followed by 4 Inisherin, 15 Pandora's Gift, a quiet one in there for Stuart Williams. She's put up some really good performances on the all-weather, unraced on turf, but I think she could threaten at a big price. That form from last time's working out well. And then 13 Starless last in.
These 2 horses I've got on top have a bit of a ale or jail profile, hit or miss profile. I'm hoping it's going to be champagne all the way this time. Jasso, just like Maddie, mighty impressed with him first time. Elite Status, just like John, mighty impressed with him at Newbury. And in behind, 13 Starlust, 4 Inisherin. 5, 1, 13, 4 in a humdinger of a Commonwealth Cup. Maybe a new queen of the Fillies Miling Division will be crowned in the Group 1 Coronation Stakes. This is the round mile, 1,600 metres on Friday at Royal Ascot, and we've got a pretty powerful cast. From the top, Content for Aidan O'Brien. Pretty useful. Devoted Queen, unbeaten, but stepping up in class after a decisive York success. El Malka won the 1,000 guineas under a storming ride from Sylvester de Souza. They went extremely hard that day. Was she slightly flattered? Fulgaria pulled too hard in France last time. Opera Singer was just about the best 2-year-old filly around in Europe last year. She apparently needed the race first time at the Curragh. It's another Ballydoyle bounce back angle. Porta Fortuna has been a byword for consistency in good fillies races. Ramatuelle, Oisin Murphy has a chance to shine on her. And we have the French 1,000 guineas winner on deck in Rue here. All sorts of options here. This is going to be an open market. I'm going to start with Opera Singer, though, guys, because if you back her, you know that at Longchamp last October, she looked tremendous. From the front, 5-length Group 1 winner. First time out this season, she was expected to need the race in the Irish 1,000. And I think she ran accordingly, John, didn't she?
I think she did. Yeah, I know a lot of people are possibly shrewder than me who really fancy her. I'm slightly less keen, simply because if you look at all the really big wins she's produced, she's had the run of the race. with some quite big final percentage closing times. And I just think that I'll be a little bit concerned this race might be run slightly differently. She's got a wide gate as well to overcome, which is not the end of the world historically in this race, but I've got 1 or 2 that I fancy against her.
And you're paying the Ballydoyle premium in the Whirlpool when Aidan and Ryan Moore get together. I want to talk about this French filly Roux here, who comes here after winning the French 1,000 guineas. She was one of few horses in the race who didn't pull too hard, and she reaped the benefit of that. I just think she's a good filly, but I think this is a better race than the French Guineas. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a much stronger race. One of my favourites of the week, potentially. So many different angles to it. But I do think Rahia can run well because, as you mentioned, Graham, slowly run race in the French 1,000 guineas last time. She showed an electric turn of foot. And she's very straightforward. And that's often what you need in this race. It can get quite tactical. I'm a big fan of Opera Singer. And to John saying that she might not get the run of the race, well, you've got to bear in mind we've got content in there as well. So there's a potential pace angle with her. She can go forward. Opera Singer, we've said it already, but it really needs to be repeated. Aidan O'Brien said he was flabbergasted with how well she ran last time. If she reproduces that pre-Marcel Boussac form, that might alone be good enough to win.
Porta Fortuna's form over the last 12 months is a thread that runs right through this Coronation Stakes. I want to talk Albany Stakes, Breeders' Cup, 1,000 guineas. You take us through the Albany Stakes, because this time last year, she was really good in that race. And I think Anna Racon, I think she goes down in history as Frankie Dettori's final ever Royal Ascot winner, until he comes back next year, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're seeing from Porta Fortuna here is her speed. By Caravaggio, that horse won a Commonwealth Cup. She's fast, she's tenacious, she's honest. Tom Marquander's recently built up a very good relationship with her. Of course, she won the Cheveley Park Stakes last season. That was also over the 6 furlongs. She proved she stayed the mile in a way when finishing second in the Guineas last time. I'm not sure in an honestly run mile whether it's truly what she wants, but this could be tactical, as we've mentioned, and she's got all the qualities you need.
Breeders' Cup, John, she ran really well in defeat.
Yeah, it was quite a tactical mile race, though, around the 2 bends, of course, there on the turf. And she's just a terrifically consistent racehorse, whether it's 6 furlongs or up to a mile. She's going to go well here again. I've got her in the numbers. Yeah, she's a thoroughly commendable racehorse.
Let me tie these threads together if I can. 1,000 guineas at Newmarket is the key clue here, I think. Amalka came with a steaming run from way off the pace in a fast run race. Porta Fortuna ran her heart out to be beaten narrowly in second. And Ramatuelle, the less said about the ride she got, the better, because her French rider went for home much too early. Oisin Murphy gets the chance to shine this time. Those 3 fillies at the weights are very tightly matched. I like the look of Ramatuelle. This is a spellbinding Coronation Stakes, John. Let's have your numbers, please.
I'm a big Ramatuelle fan as well. I think she's got a lovely draw as well. Stall 1, she'll go forward. A mile around a bend will suit her much better than a straight mile at Newmarket, whereas you said they went far too fast. If she can just be restrained by Oisin Murphy, I think she wins this. 6 in for second, Porta Fortuna. 3 in for third, El Malka. This is a different kettle of fish. And Devoted Queen's very interesting there, horse number 2 in for 4th.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the proven ability of Opera Singer. Number 5 on top for me, followed by 3 El Malka, 8 Ruhia, and 6 Porta Fortuna.
Crackerjack Group 1 race this. Like John, I'm a Ramatuelle fan. It's going to be tight, but 7, 5, 6, 3. Ramatuelle is owned by the former NBA superstar Tony Parker. I'm hoping that this is a slam dunk for Ramatuelle. Welcome back to Ascot Race 4. Day 4 is a high-quality handicap. It's the Duke of Edinburgh handicap. It is the round course. It's the 1.5 miles, pretty much 2,400 metres, and lots of interesting horses, especially a strong Irish contingent. Crystal Black is one such. So is Safecracker for Johnny Murtagh. La Yakel has pretty good Ascot form. Deakin ties in very closely on good Irish form with Crystal Black. Big Door came back with a super performance at Newmarket. Seeking is tough and hardy. Fairbanks is an improved horse this season. But take a close look at number 16. More of this ethical diamond in a moment. But he looks primed for a very big run. Let's pick up on a quick video. It's Ascot form. It's La Yakel and Struth. They've gone their different ways since. They both ran well here last summer. I know you have a sneaking fancy for La Yakel.
I do. This is a horse I've followed throughout his career, and he likes Ascot, but he has been frustrating to follow. He is a course and distance winner over this 1.5 mile at Ascot. He's always promised a great deal. He shapes very strongly in these races. He's yet to really win a big one. I'm not sure he's going to be necessarily winning this, Graham, but I think he can put in another good effort. He's fresh. I think that'll suit him. And it's William Haggis. So you're putting your faith in a trusted formula.
Ruth ran pretty well, plugging on with the old head at a jaunty angle that day. My old bosses at Timeform say Struth is becoming increasingly temperamental, John. Is that fair comment?
Well, that's possibly a little bit harsh, but it was a good run here in the Sugar Cup under our very own Matthew Chadwick, of course. It was a good run for him as well. Good ride to get. And he's got bits and pieces of Ascot form, which will see him go close. This is the counterintuitive race, though, this, Graham. You think a mile and a half around 2 turns, low draws, etc. This is absolutely dominated by high-drawn horses.
Right.
And neither Laia, Kell or Struth are particularly well drawn here. So
Right, what are we missing about for here? Let's get straight into Ethical Diamond, who looks like he's been plotted up with a capital P for this race. He cost a lot of money. He's low mileage. He was tried very highly over hurdles, and he came back to the flat last time at Leopardstown, Maddie, with a terrific performance, going down by a whisker, splitting 2 horses who've polished the form handsomely.
Yeah, I really fancy this horse, and it's such an interesting profile. He's got 320,000 guineas they paid for him at Arcana last year. They're not messing around, these connections. Straight in with Willie Mullins, but even before that on the flat, he'd shown some good form, beating a highly rated rival in a maiden race. The world's his oyster, really, Graham. That was an excellent effort at Leopardstown last time. He was unlucky not to win, really. Just got the head bob at the wrong time. Everything about this horse, the way he's been backed in his Grade 1 hurdles, suggests that they think he's better than this mark.
John, I know the only diamonds you buy for Mrs. Blantz are of the ethical variety.
Absolutely.
Do you like this fellow as well?
I'm like Leonardo DiCaprio, me. Yeah, he's got gate 18. All the reasons that Maddie's come up with are absolutely valid here, and his well is nicely drawn. And I think there's not a massive amount of pace in this race from the speed map I've done. So I think Ethical Diamond will get into a good posse as well, albeit wide. But as I've said before, that doesn't really matter.
But you've not got him on top, have you?
I haven't got him on top. No, I've got Deakin on top. I was very impressed with that horse's run last time out. We know that it stays 12 furlongs as well. It's back in trip for the seasonal reappearance. Settled really nicely in a 10 furlong contest. Gate 21, Graham. I'm liking that as well. So Deakin on top for me.
Yeah, I like the high draws. Just wrap this up, Maddie, with your numbers, please.
Yeah, 16 Ethical Diamond, Graham. You and I both like him. He's on top, followed by 3 Crystal Blacks, become a pro at winning big handicaps at the Curragh, 6 Laia Kell, and 11 Bagdoor.
Ryan Moore, Willie Mullins, Ethical Diamond to shine in the Duke of Edinburgh. 16 Ethical Diamond. Haven't mentioned 15 Shadow Dance. We should do. He's a very smart handicapper. Likewise, number 14 Fairbanks, who can be too free, but I think he's still well handicapped. And 9 Deacon for the reasons outlined. 16, 15, 14, 9. But this Ethical Diamond looks potentially the Mullins plot of the week. Let's get right into race 5 at Royal Ascot this Friday. It is the Sandringham Handicap. 4 fillies. It's the straight mile. It's a huge field. All sorts of possibilities. One of which is a win for Kitty Rose, who's now got Aussie connections, but she's got very smart form in Ireland. Couple of Coolmore fillies, Everlasting and Flight of Fancy. Soprano ran really well at this fixture last year. Bellacci has some pretty handy Ascot form. Further down, Indelible made a real impression last time out, admittedly in lesser company. Zainab has very progressive Irish form. Mrs. Morel was good from the front last time. This is tough. But I know, John, you like hold-up fillies.
Yeah.
You like Ascot form. Step forward, Bellacci at a price.
Absolutely, yeah. She ran really well here the other week in a race where they went quite slow and they quickened up from the front. And she still passed them all to win. She didn't get a particularly clear run either. And as you say, there's a formula to this race. Hold-up fillies with a high draw. And she's a hold-up filly and she's got gate 26. So she's definitely in there for me.
Maddie, the floor is open. I don't often see you without words, but am I here?
Yeah, I was going to say, for my tip, I have to say nothing at all. I fancy Joseph O'Brien's Without Words. Run twice in France, was then purchased for €450,000 last year. Her debut for Joseph was good, second to the Liffey in a conditions race. I really like the way she knuckled down in the closing stages. It looked like she was just getting to grips with what she was been asked to do. A mark of 92, I think that could be very tasty looking indeed. And like John said, she's a hold-up filly with a good draw.
We could go on all day about this, John, but let's not. Wrap up your numbers with a good word for 1 or 2, please.
Yeah, I'm going to have Bellacci on top. She's a big price as well over here in the UK. I like Asian Days as well. I thought she ran very well in Ireland the other day behind a horse called Everlasting, who's not very well drawn, and she goes forward as well, which might not be ideal for her, but those two got in the numbers as well. And I've also got a horse called Marcella, who's just coming down in class a little bit, and again, she's a hold-up horse with a high draw.
And what are the numbers specifically, please?
They are 16, 5, 19 and 2.
Maddie?
Yeah, Without Words, 12 on top for me. I want to give a quick mention to the 9 Fair Angelica for Richard Hughes. He's a shrewd operator when it comes to aiming horses at these Royal Ascot handicaps. She's looked very progressive. 1 Kitty Rose for the 3rd place. You've spoken about her, Graham, and you've also spoken about 17 Indelible, my final pick.
Top of the shop is Kitty Rose with good reason. She was trained by Natalia Lupini in Ireland, and she made a really good impression on several occasions, including on her reappearance in a race that's working out really nicely. She's joined Aussie Connections now. She'll go down as being trained by the Mick Price and Michael Kent stable. So she'll be off to Australia, but she might be heading down under with a big Ascot win. Indelible created a nice impression for Rafe Beckett at Doncaster, and she's likely to improve again. Zainab, strong Irish form, and Flight of Fancy is one to note at a price. 1, 17, 22, and 10. Back to the group racing for race 6, Royal Ascot on Friday. It's the King Edward VII Stakes, often referred to as the Ascot Derby. 3-year-olds, 1.5 miles, 2,400 metres on the round, testing round course. Have a look at a few key runners and riders. Aidan O'Brien, strongly represented as ever. Number 1, Agenda, ran extremely well in a pretty good race at Chester. 2, a French raider, Calandagan, who has been progressing very well on testing ground. Another Aidan O'Brien runner, Chief Little Rock, number 3. He made the most of a good lead in Ireland last time. Another Aidan runner, 5, Diego Velazquez. Bit frustrating at the moment. 8, another French raider, Mondo Man. And 13, Voyage. We have the Derby winner here. He passed the post first at Epsom. Unfortunately, his rider wasn't on board. So, multiple Aidan O'Brien entries here. Let's start with Diego Velazquez, John. This horse looked really good as a 2-year-old. It hasn't got his way this season. We pick him up running pretty well for 4th, I think, in the French 2,000 guineas. But he didn't really fire his best shot when he went back to France for the French Derby. What do you make of it?
No, he was very unlucky in the Guineas because he was wide the whole way. And I think that could be easily explained away. But he was wide as well in the French Derby, but he was having a good run in terms of the pace dynamics of the race. So for me, there are 1 or 2 question marks about him. Obviously up in trip as well. I think he'd probably be fine with the trip, but it's just, I think I've got him in the numbers, but I can't be desperately confident about him.
Okay, of the other Aidan O'Brien horses, Agenda, I don't think he's got a real strong turn of foot, but I think he stays very well, as he showed at Chester last time.
Yeah, I agree. That effort, of course, behind the ill-fated Hidden Law was a good effort. As you say, Graham, I think he wants a trip. He could want even further in time. If I was Ryan Moore, I think I'd have picked him.
One of the templates in this race is find an Aidan O'Brien horse that's by Galileo, but there are plenty of them here. So when we move on to a few others here, we should talk about Space Legend, who I think is by See the Stars, William Haggis's favourite sire, and there's no question whatsoever, Maddie, that he was unlucky in the run at Goodwood last time.
Absolutely. A horse called Maidan actually beat him, but he was unlucky in the run, as he can be at Goodwood. Space Legend, just the way he was produced by Tom Marquand in the closing stages, he was eating into the eventual winner's lead. He's quite a short price here, but I think that's for good reason. Everyone's looked at that run and they see a really eye-catching progressive horse. And of course, he's a Wathnan Racing project too.
French rider Calandagan has a rating of 110, puts him right up with the very best of these, but that 110 has been achieved on much deeper ground, John.
Yes, I mean, obviously that's a big caveat as far as this particular race is concerned, but it was a good run last time out in France. He turned for home last, and he's passed them all when they're all accelerating in front of him as well, albeit fairly slowly in heavy ground. So I've got him in the numbers. He's going to be held up here. There's going to be a bit of pace. I reckon Agenda will go forward, maybe Chief Little Rock, and possibly Space Legend and 1 or 2 others as well. So I think they're going to go an honest gallop.
Okay, this is a tough one. I think it's going to be a wide-open betting market. Give me your numbers and your selections, John.
I'm going to go with a horse called Theory of Tides on top for the Gosens. Did everything wrong at Nottingham the day I was there, and I was very surprised to see him suddenly emerge on the scene. Started much better at Yarmouth second time out, and again came home very strongly. He's very, very promising. He might not necessarily be good enough to win King Edward VII, but as we've said, it's an open renewal, so he definitely goes on top for me. I've got Agenda in there for second, Calandagan in for third, and dear old Diego Velazquez in there for...
Maddie, is it an Aidan horse, a French horse, or another for you?
William Haggis once again, Graham. Number 10, Space Legend. 13, Voyage. I want to give a good mention to the 6, Harper's Ferry. Didn't go in the stalls at Chester last time, but made a really nice impression at Windsor before that. He's out of an Oaks winner in talent. If he goes, I think he'll go well, followed by 1, Agenda.
I think that's quite intriguing with Harper's Ferry, because they're potentially ruining what would have been a very good handicap mark of about 88. He's not in my numbers, but Agenda is. He's top of my agenda, number 1. 10, Space Legend, improving fast. 3, Chief Little Rock, and 2, Calandagan. That is the King Edward VII all wrapped up. Talk about a difficult nightcap on Friday at Royal Ascot. This is the Palace of Holyrood House handicap, the straight 1,000 metres, a flying 5 furlongs with the emphasis on flying. It might be quicker to detail the runners than aren't front runners in this. There are so many. Down the card, Tocamadeira goes forward. So does Sommelier. That might hit Jubilee Walk, who was good at York. Matters Most goes forward. Blue Storm was good at Epsom. Chagrin goes forward. Pilgrim was rapid from the front at Musselburgh. MacArthur was rapid from the front at Doncaster. Further down the card, 20 and 21. Dear Olay, unbeaten, and a front runner. Dorney Lake, looking for a hat-trick, and a front runner. And keep an eye at a big price on number 25, Billy Webster, who might just come to call if the pace collapses. We've touched on all these front runners, John. Your angle here is Epsom form, I think.
It is, yeah. And if you remember the 3-year-old dash, Blue Storm was just held up off the pace there. And then actually ran a really quick sectional to get a position, and then was a little bit unlucky in the run as well, and still managed to overcome things. The 4th has won since, and as you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of pace in this race, and a high draw, Graham. 4 runnings of this race prior to this year, and not a single horse in the first 4 is at a single-figure draw. You need middle to the grandstand rail.
That is the information that we pay you the big bucks for. Have you got any more useful nuggets, Maddie, here?
I think this is really tough, Graham, so probably not as useful as John. A race chock full of progressive young sprinters. The one I came down on in the end was the 6 Jubilee Walk for James Ferguson, purely on the basis of how impressive he was at York last time. That gave him a Racing Post rating of 106. He'll be well in if he was reproducing that sort of effort here.
He's got Oisin Murphy on top. I like a horse called Pilgrim here. David and Nicola Barron, veteran Yorkshire training combination. And he ran really well in that York race, won by Jubilee Walk with Van der Man in second. But he went to a new level at Musselburgh last time. Admittedly, it was just a Class 4, but he showed brazen speed, and it just looks like he's improving fast. So I'm going to go with Pilgrim. 1 or 2 others to mention, but just wrap up, if you will, John. Not an easy task, but you're the man for it. Your numbers and selections for the Palace of Holyrood House.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with Blue Storm on top from gate 17. Horse number 12 should go very well. Sommelier that we mentioned, you're going to pay the Ryan Moore tax, as you like to call it, Graham, but should still be there or thereabouts. Woods A Wonder's been in great form over slightly further. I think coming back in trip, getting a good draw, gate 16, that one can go well. And Got to Love a Grey has been rather ignored in the market, but has run really well in a higher level than this, and is a very, very tough and genuine racehorse. That might not be too far away either, but you could take plenty of numbers in this race and still get it wrong.
So difficult, but I'm going to stick with Oisin Murphy, who's already made a great start to his Royal Ascot week with 6 Jubilee Walk, 21 Dorney Lake for Godolphin. That's a progressive horse. Looked a bit green, but he's getting his act together now. Followed by 16, the Irish Raider, Scorchio. And 1, Tocamadeira, has good juvenile form. Maybe he'll be more at home in this handicap.
John, you're my man for all matters royal. Where is the Palace of Holyrood House?
Edinburgh, Graham, surely you know that.
And what is Edinburgh's racecourse?
Musselburgh.
Pilgrim bolted up at Musselburgh last time. There could be no more appropriate winner. He's fast. He's going to need to be, but he's on top for me. 14, Pilgrim. 15, Mukafar. 20, Dear Olay. And 25, Billy Webster in the Palace of Holyrood House.